Hey zoology folks, it's Mr. Lackey, and I promised in class I would give you some tips on how to get started on your cladogram project. So here we go. Depending on what cohort you're in, if you're in cohort A, you're watching this on the week of September 28th. If you are in cohort B, you are hopefully watching this the following week, the week of October 5th. Some things about the cladogram project. So the first thing you want to do if you are looking at the cladogram project description, the first thing says create a branching cladogram with space for at least 10 animals at the top. Don't be afraid to make it complicated. So I'm going to simplify that just for the purpose of demonstration here. But what I've done is I've made a bunch of cladograms that have space for 6 animals at the top, just again for simplicity's sake while I'm demonstrating. So here are some of the ones that I just made. Notice there's all kinds of different cladograms that I could make that would result in 6 spaces at the top. And when we talk about the spaces at the top, remember that's up there at that part. That's where the animals on your cladogram are going to go. Again, there's really simple options. There's really boring options. I'd say, I think it's going to be more fun for you if you make it semi-complicated, but you get to make it however you want to, right? For the purpose of this video, I'm actually going to flip it around, and I made one of these kind of even bigger. We'll use this one as my practice, right? So the next thing on the description says, come up with 10 traits you want your animals to have. When you're coming up with these traits, you can keep in mind that eventually you're going to be drawing these animals in some way. So maybe if you are an artist and you really love to draw certain features, or if you're really into a certain fantasy genre, or you're really into superheroes, you can give those traits the things, or like maybe you love a certain type of animal, you can give those traits to the things that you're going to be drawing. So maybe those traits are furry, or maybe those traits are they have wings, or the traits are that they have laser vision. Again, these are very hypothetical, made up animals. So you can give them real animal traits, or you can give them totally made up wild traits, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab a marker here, and I'm going to add some spots for traits here and label them. Now, so I'm not done because I've only added a few. You're going to add 10 total, but let me show you where mine showed up on here. Okay. So if you notice, because of the location of where I put wings, that means every single animal that I draw is going to end up with wings. So hopefully I like to draw wings, right? If I were to draw, now that I've added mine, if I were to draw this first animal, so the one that goes here and here, when I make my drawing, I have to make sure that it has a shell and wings, right? Because when I find that spot, it leads me there. If I'm going to get to this animal here, it has to have wings and it has to have teeth. Now notice I've skipped some things, but there should be some, probably should be some more things here. Like I probably need a trait right here where I just added this line because there's got to be something that separates these animals from these animals. I guess it could just be that like this one has a shell and maybe I don't have to add anything here because none of the rest do have a shell. But again, you've got 10 on here. The other thing that we haven't really talked about in class, what I wanted to point out to you, is sometimes traits are lost over time, which seems like a strange thing to happen in evolution, but it does happen. So for example, I said down here that everything on here is going to have wings, but it is possible for certain groups of animals to lose that trait. So maybe I would make a spot on here that says lost wings or no wings. So maybe even though this group of animals right here, even though their ancestors had wings, they may have lost those wings through evolution. I wouldn't count that as one of my 10 traits because we're looking for at least 10 total traits, but it's okay if a trait appears somewhere on a cladogram and then disappears in a certain group of animals later on a cladogram. A classic example for something like this is birds. Like the ancestor of all birds were able to fly, but certain birds over time have actually evolutionarily lost the ability to fly. So there's an example of a trait that is lost over time. These are kind of the basics that once you've got your 10 traits on there, make sure that you're going to end up with 10 distinct animals that they're all labeled as somehow different from each other. Like right now, for example, if I were to draw this animal and this animal, they would both have had wings, they've lost wings. So really the only thing I have going for these two animals is they both have teeth. I'd better add another trait here or here to make sure that they're distinct from one another, so that when I draw them, I've got some type of distinct separation for them. I really want to throw out for you guys, these do not have to be complicated, beautiful drawings. They can be very, very simple. You know, your animals can basically be a square with eyes. They can also be really complicated. Some of you are artists and you really love to draw, and I'm really trying to give you a space to enjoy that creativity if that's something that you enjoy. Yeah, if you're not an artist, you should make your traits things that are extremely easy to draw, because then you won't have to worry about it. Those are some of my basics. I think once you get started, if I'm looking at the description, we've just now talked through the first 5 or so steps. From there, it's going to get a little more complicated, and it's going to reflect some of those things we did in class this week. So now you're going to have to start identifying clades, and within those clades, you're going to have to identify a common ancestor of that clade and all of its descendants. You can do that by writing it out. You could circle the whole thing. I understand that your paper might start getting complicated if you're drawing huge circles and labels, so maybe it's easier if you just have a little label off to the side saying, this common ancestor is here and all of its descendants are blank, 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 blank. Those blanks are going to be easier when you follow the next step, step 7, where it says give proper scientific names. Remember, proper doesn't necessarily mean in Latin, it just means a 2-part scientific name with a genus and a species, with the genus capitalized and the species lowercase and both parts underlined. But remember, they can be funny, weird little made-up ones like we had in class this week, like leggy 1, leggy 2. They don't have to be Latin sounding, but if you want to have fun with it and make them Latin sounding, I'd certainly love to see your interpretation of those. Again, too, you have to come up with at least 3 different genuses in those, so think about how genuses could work. For example, if I was looking at mine, I'd be looking for at least 3 different things I might group together, right? So for example, I might make these 2 in the same genus, and then maybe these 3 in a separate genus, and then this one over here in its own 3rd separate genus, right? Because genuses are going to be groups of closely related species. And if you've got to come up with 3, it should be including at least like 3 clades, right? I could also come up with maybe 2. I could say like, oh, well, all these are in one genus and this is another, but I'll let you guys decide how you're going to do that. If you're having trouble getting started, this is a quick reminder, Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. for cohort A. Ooh, so cohort A, Tuesday the 29th, we're going to have office hours. Cohort B, we're going to have to figure out something different for you guys for some type of office hours or help. So, but for cohort A, Tuesday, September 29th, if you need me, I'm going to be available. I will have a link up for conferences 11 to 11:45. You can drop in and ask me questions if you're having trouble getting started. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to really tell you guys for this one. I hope you enjoy your remote week, and I will be talking to you soon. Bye.